The Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. It's a Monday morning, 16 minutes past 8 a.m. You're tuned into the Smooth of Breakfast. Yours truly is Ayokunmi, and it's that time to get into the world of sports. Take a look at the sporting stories that have been making the rounds in the last 24 to 48 hours, as it were. This is the locker room. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're just tuning in, hey, you are in at the perfect time. Joining me, as always, to take a look at the stories and, of course, undoubtedly, to share some banter around because banter is about to go around this morning. The one, the only Tega Supreme. Tega, good morning to you.
Good morning. Hope you had a great weekend. Well,
Oh, I
if
did.
you're an
I did.
Arsenal fan, even if you're an Arsenal fan, you still had a great weekend because your misery has company. Somehow, your past relationships are towing you in this fight of the Premier League. All right, so we'll talk about Arsenal and all the troubles that happened in the Premier League. We'll also touch on the WTA finals that is going down in Riyadh. The top eight women in the world of tennis going head to head in Riyadh. We'll touch on that story. We'll talk about what happened yesterday at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Now, Grand Prix usually you'd associate with Formula One, but there was a
Hmm.
lot of water, so I don't know if it was formula swimming that they were doing yesterday, but something was going on. We'll touch on the chaos that was the weekend in Sao Paulo, right? All of that and more coming up inside the locker room this morning. But before we do any talking, Ayokumi, how can we be a part of the show this morning?
I'm glad you asked. You can be a part of the locker room this morning by sharing your messages, sending those messages, your thoughts to us. You can send them in on WhatsApp. That remains 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 0981. You should have that number on speed dial by this point in time. The studio line is 0201 4489981. We're also streaming on YouTube. You can catch us at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All right, Tega, let's jump right into the stories. And talking about Formula Swimming, Formula One, the Brazilian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen won a very chaotic rain-lashed Brazilian Grand Prix on Sunday, roaring back from 17th on the grid to reignite his push for a fourth successive world title. Now, the Red Bull driver came home ahead of Alpine duo Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. Tega.
So let's take it away. First of all, incredible run. Um, he not only was Max Verstappen, he didn't qualify. Okay, so because of the rains, qualifying had to be moved. First of all, the rain was so much they couldn't go into qualifying, which they usually do on Saturday. So they had to do the qualifying on Sunday morning, which meant
Oh,
that
wow.
usually they just have their routine, but this time they had to wake up at 6 a.m. No, they didn't have to wake up at 6 a.m. They had to be on the grid at 6 a.m. So they probably woke up around 5, 4:30 a.m. thereabout to do whatever their routine was. Waiting for qualifying. It was raining so heavily. Cars were swimming across the water and some swam into the wall. And some of those crashes affected people's positions. So Max Verstappen qualified in 12th, but he already had a penalty, a five great place penalty, which meant he started from 17th. Now,
Hmm.
everybody and anybody had already said that Max Verstappen starting from 17th was going to be a sweet one for him because number one, it was raining. So whether your car is fast or your car is not fast didn't really come into play because whatever advantage your car had, the water leveled it up. So
Right.
it came down and there's no DRS, so you don't get that extra help from your aerodynamics during the race. So it came down to which drivers like to play in the rain. And there are drivers that know how to play in the rain. The likes of George Russell, he enjoys the rain. Charles Leclerc enjoys the rain when he has a good car. Lewis Hamilton used to enjoy the rain, but he's older now, and with his age has come some kind of caution. So he doesn't drive like he used to. But another driver that really, really loves the rain, Max Verstappen. And so from the start
Interesting.
of the race in 17th position, his first, as soon as the lights went green, Max Verstappen had already overtaken about 4 cars because Lewis Hamilton started in 14th and went up to 13th. And in a blink of an eye, Max Verstappen, who was in 17th, was right beside him. That's
Oh
how
wow.
quick Max was off the start. Again, Lando Norris at the top of the grid. He qualified in pole, but for some reason, Lando Norris does not know how to drive from front of the pole. I think that's all he should do in his practice sessions. Because again, he started from pole, and again, he lost pole from the lights going out because George Russell, who started in second, overtook him as soon as the lights went out. And so Lando Norris, who started in pole, again found himself struggling in second position. So it was Max Verstappen driving from 17th all the way to the top, and then there were crashes. Because of the water, people crashed into the wall, red flags. Because of the water, people
Mm,
crashed into the wall, yellow flag. The question was, can you drive without crashing into the wall? And they couldn't stop the rain. They just kept telling their drivers, okay, for the next 2 minutes, the rain is going to be heavy. For the next 15 minutes, the rain is going to be light. So it was not a question of whether it was going to rain or not. It was, how can you survive this rainy weather? And at the end of the day, the driver that came out in flying colors was Max Verstappen. Because despite all the penalties, despite starting in 17th position, first of all, his overtaking helped him, but more importantly, his strategy helped him because when the leaders, George Russell and Lando Norris, went in to do their tire change, Max Verstappen stayed, and the Alpines, they stayed out. And they were hoping that because it was raining, they were going to get a safety car. As
mm,
if, and yesterday was Sunday, their prayers got answered immediately because Carlos Sainz crashed, which meant they got a red flag, and then they were able to change their tires without losing their position on the grid. And that's how Max Verstappen got to the top. And then, of course, overtaking the Alpines wasn't a problem for him. And so he finished the race as a race leader. So it was a combination of great driving, really great driving, and luck. So
mm.
congratulations to Max Verstappen. The gap at the top of the drivers' championship now is 62 points. Yesterday, we were hoping that if Lando Norris could win, he will close the gap more. But Lando Norris finished in fourth or fifth, and so the gap has widened at the top. And then Max Verstappen, you know how he is, very cheeky and not graceful. After the race, he was like, "Where are all the British media? They are the only ones I want to talk to." Because he wanted to mock them. He wanted to mock them because everybody had been saying Lando Norris could close the gap this weekend. And so he decided that he was going to mock them. So when everybody came for the interview, he was like, "This place looks too, I need to only talk to the British media."
Ah,
Yeah.
it's his time.
and then he
Let
and then he wonders why people don't like him.
well, it's his time. Let him shine. He is on the brink of clinching a fourth consecutive title. All he needs to do is finish ahead of Norris at the Las Vegas Grand Prix. That's later on this one.
If
I
we are
think
honest, it
in
should
20
be
days
his
time.
third. Yeah, if we are honest, it should be his third. But let's count it as fourth for posting.
Well, in the record books, that's how they wrote it too.
In the
In the
record
record
books,
books.
they still have a caveat that 2021 was controversial. And we will never let them forget that they stole a championship,
All right, Tega,
especially on the locker room.
let's talk let's talk some tennis. And it's all about the WTA finals. Igashrante kicked off her WTA finals title defense with a hard-fought victory, rallying back from a set and a double breakdown to overcome eight-seeded Barbara Krejcikova in Riyadh on Sunday.
Yes, a really interesting one. First of all, I just want to say thank you, WTA, the new management for WTA, that we are not playing in Cancun where the court is being swept away by breeze. That's the first thing. That's the first thing I want to say. I want to thank you for taking the women to a very reasonable place where they are enjoying their lives. All right. That's number one. But number two, the stars came out to play. So we haven't seen Ribakina in a while because she was having that problem apparently with her coach, who it has come out was very abusive. I mean, I think we all
Ah,
kind of knew that. Yeah, I think we all kind of knew that because even on court, the way the guy used to yell at her, I was like, if you're yelling at her like this in public on court, what will you be telling her in private? Apparently, he always used to use abusive words and put her down
that's
and all of
unacceptable.
that drama. That's very unacceptable. And you have to understand that these coaches, when the players are the ones paying them. So how you are insulting the person that pays your check is beyond me. Anyways, so she hadn't come from for different tournaments for a while, and we knew it was not a physical injury only because she would have recovered from the physical injury that they claimed she had. But it later came out that it was a coaching issue. So she's changed coaches and she was there. Also, in those few weeks, we hadn't seen Iga Swiatek too, former world number one, and
Mm,
Arena Sabalenka had caught up with her and has now become the world ranked number one ranked player. And so she also changed her coach, and we're hoping to see some changes on court, and it happened yesterday. So for the thing I would say, first thing I'd notice is that her serves were bigger. They are not yet as consistent as a top player serves should be, which is one of the reasons I think she changed coaches, and which is one of the reasons I think she struggled in the last two Grand Slams of the year. But
okay.
they are bigger now. And so with a big serve, you can get some free points. She just has to make that big serve consistent. Also, I noticed that she was hitting some of her shots, especially on the forehand, a little harder with a little more top spin. So those are the changes I noticed. And they really helped her in this game because she was rusty because she hadn't played in a while. And Barbara Krejcikova was on it, was in great form. And that's why she was able to go a set up and a double break up. But Iga Swiatek's fighting spirit and her game just beginning to come to fore was able to drag her back into the second set. And then she completely dismissed Krejcikova in the third set. So fantastic one for her there. In her group, which is the orange group, Coco Golf and Pegula are also there. They faced each other yesterday. Coco Golf won in straight sets, 6-3, 6-2, I think. And so
Mm,
next up, it is Coco Golf and Iga Swiatek again. If I Coco Golf,
again.
I'd just be like, can I resign now? Because this matchup has not been great for her. However, when Coco Golf won her first Grand Slam, she defeated Iga Swiatek. So if Coco Golf is going to win her first WTA finals, she may have to defeat Iga Swiatek. So mouth-watering clash upcoming.
Hmm. It's going to be a very, very tough one out there in the
Yeah, in
WTA
Riyadh.
finals in
Yes.
Riyadh. So,
All right. So, but let me just touch on the men's also that we go straight to football after the break. Yesterday, Sasha Zverev won the ATP Paris Masters and 1000 Paris Masters. And everywhere was quiet. Everybody was like, "Yeah, you won! Congratulations, abuser." I mean, I kid you not. It was like the tennis world just completely ignored him. Why? Because he had those domestic violence cases, and he had to settle one out of court eventually. So that's how you deny the three is this is three different women coming out to say the same thing about you. Um, he has not been officially sentenced for domestic violence. However,
hmm.
this final one, he had to settle the case out of court. So he was not found guilty, but he was
But
also
that,
not found innocent.
but that, sorry, that cloud is hanging over him
Exactly. So when he
right
won,
there.
everybody was just like, congratulations, next. Like he was quiet. He was quiet because he was the one that won. So yes, but I would say in the spirit of sportsmanship, congratulations to Sasha Zverev on winning the 1000 Masters in Paris and knocking Carlos Alcaraz from world number two to world number three. So Sasha Zverev is now world number two. Carlos Alcaraz is world number three behind Yannick Sinner, who is world number one.
All right. Let's take our number one breather right here on the locker room this beautiful Monday morning. When we come back in, we'll talk about a certain Man City. and the issues they are having in the Premier League. Don't go anywhere. Hey, way.
I'm telling you, kwele, kwele, kwele.
Oh, I get up in the morning
Hola.
and ask myself, what's the point?
No, but this morning was exceptionally tiring for me because the weekend was tiring. So when I left the office on Friday, I got to my car started overheating in traffic.
Ah,
I was not able to manage it to the house, but if you saw the way the smoke was coming out, I actually thought my engine had knocked because
this guy is
I
after
had
your life.
like, this car is after my life. So that's another reason why I'm tired because this morning I had to make a phone call to the mechanic. It was it was not the best of weekends up until yesterday.
Hopefully,
Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
hopefully,
Everything.
hopefully, it's not like a serious thing. Maybe just a fan issue. Maybe.
No. It's not a serious issue. It's they said the thing that distributes the water to the car is what got bad yesterday.
Oh, is that a water pump or something? Is that what they call it? Water.
Water something. So they had to sort it out. So it's not something serious, but they're just two things they have to fix, and they'll bring it. But the fact they have to spend money again and then be
That's
without
the
a car
thing.
again, yeah, be without a car again, and you know, and all the things I'm supposed to do this week because Friday did not go according to plan. It was just so I woke up tired, not from anything, but from the thoughts.
Well, well, all is well. We're back. We're in the locker room on Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. And of course, we love sports as well on the Smooth Breakfast. Ayokunmi, right here with you. Alongside me is the one, the only Tega. We are taking you into the world of sports, taking a look at the stories making the rounds in the last 24, 48 hours. Weekend has been packed with a lot of great sporting action, and we would love you to be a part of it. So all you need to do is to send your messages in to us on WhatsApp on 0809 44409 81 0809 444 0981. You can also join us on YouTube. We're streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All right, Tega, we are back into the locker room. And as I mentioned before, we're going to talk about a certain Man City who lost over the weekend against Bournemouth. But anyways, Manchester City's injury crisis proved costly as the champions saw a 32-game unbeaten Premier League run come to a surprising end with a 2-1 loss at Bournemouth on Saturday, but manager Pep Guardiola preferred not to use injuries as an excuse.
Truth be told, it was not an injury problem. I completely agree with him. I know he said he has 13 players, but like I said on Friday, all you need is 11. And
Mm.
so with the
And
you
and they
can't
had a
you
strong
can
11.
he had a strong 11. You cannot complain with your golden boot winner on the team for not scoring goals, and they created chances. Don't get me wrong, Bournemouth were brilliant. I don't think there was anybody that anticipated that even if Manchester City wanted to lose, they were going to lose against Bournemouth. Yes, they had lost midweek in the Carabao Cup, but that was because some people assume they used their crutch team. You can excuse that loss, but back-to-back losses, number one, is rare for Manchester City. But number
Mm.
two, with a strong 11, think about it. Who did that? Apart from Gundogan and Rodri. I mean, Rodri is a huge absence. They pretty much had a solid 11 that would have comfortably have won that match, and they created chances to win. Some people are
Correct.
saying there's something wrong with Foden. Some people are saying Erling Haaland is not as consistent as we expected him to be. Whatever the problem, injuries wasn't it on Saturday. It really came down to how Manchester City were executing. And if you've watched Manchester City this season, they have struggled to get those results. Remember when they had to get a last gasp win, equalizer against Arsenal with Stones, and
Mm,
Arsenal was one man down from for most of that match. Remember how they had to get a last gasp winner again with Stones. So Manchester City have been struggling to take their chances, and so I agree with Pep Guardiola. Yes, their injuries are mounting, but Saturday's match didn't come down to their injuries. It came down to the struggles in creating and taking the chances that they would easily have done last season. So I agree with him. And so Manchester City drop points, Liverpool win their match, and Liverpool, unlike Manchester City, they had to come back from behind and then win that match convincingly. And now they sit pretty at the top of the table.
mm. I'm pretty sure Brighton will be sick of the sight of Liverpool. I mean, second consecutive loss to them. You
And
know, they lost to them in,
and they
in the
lost by
Carabao Cup in
one goal
midweek.
margin. Yeah, 3-2 midweek, 2-1 on Saturday. Was it Saturday or Sunday? And they had Brighton had ample opportunity to have been out of sight before Liverpool started their comeback. Unfortunately, they didn't take it.
Unfortunately for them. Anyways, let's take a pause from the Premier League and let's take a look at what's been going on in La Liga. And of course, a Barca's crash doing the business over the weekend. Barcelona beat Espanyol 3-1 in La Liga on Sunday, despite a below par performance in the second half. But Barcelona coach Hansi Flick said he would not be hard on his players since they had done enough to build a big lead in the league.
Well, I think you regret that a little bit, but I think he doesn't want to be too harsh. Because you know how it is. He has a young team, and so to expect consistent character from that young team can be tough to ask. So I guess he's taking his little wins. For him, the important thing yesterday was to get all 3 points and extend their lead at the top of the table. And that's what they did. They won that match by 3 goals to 1. But in the second half, they really didn't come out of the locker room. And so,
Mm,
yes, a coach will be worried because most in general, what you're looking at is not just the result, but how your team responds to situations. And if your team can taper off from a pretty much good first half to a completely forgettable second half, it would cause you to worry if you look at all the competitions you're trying to win, the Champions League, the La
true.
Liga, and all the teams you have to play. So normally that will cause you something to worry. But I think Hansi Flick is just taking his small wins. It's like this team in the last week, they have defeated Bayern Munich, they have defeated Sevilla, they've defeated Real Madrid.
Real Madrid.
Let them let them drink small water now. Let them just small water
And drop the cup.
and drop the cup, please. Let them drink small water. So I guess that's the win he's taking. On the other hand, Real Madrid couldn't play because their match was suspended by the flooding. Remember, we spoke
Mm,
about this on Friday.
yes.
So they have a game in hand. Atletico Madrid, on the other hand, had a fantastic weekend for Diego Simeone because he
I
played his
mean,
son and
and
his
his
son
son,
scored the goal.
I mean, seeing his son
You
score.
cannot say nepotism exactly if there's results. You cannot cry nepotism if there's results. And
Oh my goodness.
I think Giuliani is a better scorer because you know Diego Simeone has another son in Napoli.
Oh,
But
really?
I've yes, and he played again in Napoli's loss. Yeah,
Huh.
that's his second son that is playing. Don't
How
you know Diego is an old man?
how didn't I connect those dots?
Yeah, that's his second son. You know he has I, I mean, he's that the one in Napoli used to be an Atletico before he moved. But I think Giuliani is the son that has it. He seems to have the work ethic, the talent, and then his scoring. Let's see how consistent he can be. But from what I've seen about him, not just yesterday's match, the few times he's come up as a sub, he's been brilliant.
Hmm.
Mm.
Interesting,
So it was a
interesting.
good day in the Simeone family house.
Most
They'll all
definitely.
be talking about their matches.
I mean, except for the other son who did not have a really good, weekend. But we'll talk about that one later on as we get along in the show. In the show, Tega, you know what I'm talking about. Let's talk about one of the biggest games this weekend, and of course, that was Manchester United taking on Chelsea. Moses Caicedo
Let's
strike
correct that.
United
Be, let's correct that. Biggest game on paper.
on paper. Okay, on paper.
Because the display yesterday was like two amateur teams playing on Sunday morning under the bridge.
Sunday
That's the
league football.
performance yesterday. Sunday morning street football. That's what they gave us. Again, with Manchester United getting their new coaching situation clarified, Ruud van Nistelrooy was of course looking for a way to cement his name in the history books, the same way Michael Carrick did. Um, and on the other hand, Maresca was trying to show that yes, he's not a coach that wins against only small teams, which means that now Manchester United is no longer a small teams. He can contend with the big names. But the display by both teams was shockingly abysmal. I was like, this used to be Super Sunday,
Mm.
but this football is not Super Sunday. The name may be Super Sunday, Manchester United versus Chelsea. But the football itself wasn't Super Sunday. In fact, it was barely championship football. So um, that was a big worry. But interestingly, I want to hear from Chelsea fans what they think. Because at some point, it looked like their team was getting goals from every corner. The problem was their defense was a little bit shaky. But now, to score goals is questionable. Even Cold Palmer, after he dribbles one or two people and you shout, hey, the end product is not there. So let's talk
At
to the
all.
Chelsea fans. Let's open the phone lines. Chelsea fans, tell us, what do you think about your team now? Okay, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about your team now? Is your team getting there? Is your team there? Or should we reset again?
LK LK has already replied you on YouTube on YouTube Tega. LK says some way Man United brought Chelsea down to their level and neutralized Palmer. Chelsea cannot go further with Sanchez in goal. Liverpool were the real winners this weekend, and the league is in their hands. So LK,
Okay, well,
yeah.
yeah, he said it's Manchester United that brought them down to your level. It's a lie. Class is permanent. If you had it, you would have been there. It would have been there. You didn't have it. That's why you are saying, all right, so let's take some more thoughts on the Chelsea team. What do you think about the Chelsea team? Especially after the display against Manchester United. The numbers to send your messages to are
The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 0981. Let's take some messages. A couple of messages have already come in here on WhatsApp. Let me see. Who do we have here talking to us? Um, this is Michael. Michael says, please let's use the same yardstick for measurements for Arsenal as per injuries. Simple truth is that both teams played horrible games and have themselves to blame.
yep, that's the simple truth. Pep and Arteta played horrible games this weekend. They cannot say injuries is a problem.
True story. Peter from Lagos says Ruben Amorim has his work cut out. This Man United team needs a quick intervention, not quick intervention, or serious intervention. Such a bizarre display yesterday from both teams. Actually, it was terrible, terrible. AI from Manuru says Barcelona are living in paradise at the top of La Liga with a 9 point gap over second place Real Madrid. On the other hand, there's trouble in paradise in the blue side of Manchester with two consecutive losses in 1 week. But the surprise of the weekend was Nottingham Forest's 3-0 win over West Ham to climb up into the top four on the Premier League table, sitting comfortably in third position. That is still wild, any way you actually want to look at it. I'm telling you.
True,
Uh, let,
true,
let me take
true.
some more. Mohammed, he says, Tega, Madam Council Culture. Now, like Max, and you're, I'm not going to read the second part. Mohammed, you can be more civil in your what's the word in your interactions here. um Michael, please, sorry, Mohammed, please, when you're ready to be more civil in your message sending, I'll take your messages. Please, let's be civil in our interactions. I know there's banter, but there's banter and there's being very silly. Larry from the abroad says drama, penalties, investigations, crashes, DNF, safety cars, all sorts of flags, and a ridiculous amount of rain made up the chaos that was the Brazilian Grand Prix. Hate him all you want, but what a drive by Max. Started 17th and was 11th before the end of the second lap. Special shout out to Alpine, who scooped up 30 points and $50 million. As someone once said, in the rain, all the cars are a bit more equal. True
Yes, so
story.
everything you have in the rain, it dissipates. The rain is a leveler.
Let me take let me take some on YouTube. Kenny Ainde says a rainy day is usually always Max Verstappen's day. As soon as I saw the weather condition, I crashed to my knees on behalf of Norris. Oh, my goodness. Uche Nawokwe says United, same familiar issue. Just get the ball into the nets. The players are erratic, making any manager in charge to look incompetent. Sad to see what we have become. LK says Evra was right. Arsenal is like a seasonal movie. You have to keep waiting for next season. Chimobi Victor says Manchester City are they really messed up against Bournemouth, though they deserve to lose because they weren't playing well this
I,
season.
I,
While
I
Hansi
said
Flick is
maybe
doing a great job.
maybe Pep Guardiola is towing Ateta. Do you understand? Because if he had won yesterday, it would have been 8 points clear. Maybe he wants to help his apprentice. Why do people assume that Ateta will lose to both? Yeah, maybe he's
Fi-
helping his apprentice.
Finally, Tayo says everybody knows the season hasn't started yet for Man City until January, February when they peak. Pep isn't using injuries as an excuse, but that can't be Arteta and his bottling company. I wonder if what Chelsea and Man United played is football because they were both waiting for who to score first. Is this woke football? I wonder.
I wonder. All right. I want to say thank you for sending in your messages to Smooth 98.1 FM. Thank you for listening to us in the locker room. Um, and we hope that by Wednesday we'll have more messages and we'll have more time to talk about this. First of all, I have to say congratulations to Ademola Lukman. Again, we are waiting for our CAF award. All right. On that note, go out, have a great weekend. I'm sorry, have a great week.
A great week, Tega. You're still in weekend mode, I can understand. All right. Thank you all for all the messages and keeping in tune to the locker room right here on Smooth 98.1. Don't go anywhere. Lagos Talks comes up at 9. Great conversation as always.